All right, let's dive in. Today we're talking about Jammu and Kashmir's Great Land Shift. We're heading into the Indian Himalayas to unpack a story of just massive, rapid change. When we say the land is changing, we mean it literally. The very ground here is being remade. And we're talking about a transformation that is happening so fast and on such a huge scale that it's reshaping everything: ecosystems, economies, really the entire future of the region. So let's break down what's really going on and, why this matters so much. Okay, to really get our heads around just how big this is, we've got to start small. We're going to zoom in on one single really crucial spot because sometimes the story of one place, well, it tells the story of an entire region. And that's exactly what we're seeing with this vanishing wetland. And the numbers here, they are just stark. Take a look at this. Back in 1969, the Hokersar wetland was almost 19 square kilometers. Now, fast forward just a few decades to 2008, and it's down to 13. That's more than a 30% loss of its area. I mean, that's not just a warning sign. It's a massive, flashing red flag for the whole ecosystem. So you might be asking, what does that shrinking number actually mean on the ground? Well, scientists have this nickname for Hokersar. They call it the Queen of Wetlands. But let me tell you, this queen is in serious trouble. The water, it's getting shallower. Those marshy lands that are so critical for migratory birds, they've collapsed by over 65%. You've got bird populations dropping, and you've got concrete, actual built-up areas appearing where there used to be water and life. This isn't just an ecosystem under stress. No, this is an ecosystem that's right on the brink. And that, of course, brings us to the big question, right? Is this whole crisis at Holkasar just a one-off, an isolated incident, or is it a symptom of something much bigger happening across all of Jammu and Kashmir? All right, let's zoom out. Now we're going to see the truly staggering scale of this great land shift. And wow, the numbers are just breathtaking. In some of these critical zones, the wetland areas haven't just shrunk, they've been practically erased. We're talking a decline of 98.54%. Think about that. That's not degradation. That is a near total wipeout of a vital ecosystem. So where did all that land go? Well, here's your answer. As the wetlands disappear, built-up areas, cities, industry have absolutely exploded. An increase of over 144%. It's an almost perfect mirror image. As one goes down, the other goes way up. Nature is quite literally being paved over. And listen, this transformation isn't just about wetlands. It's hitting the region's food supply and hitting it hard. Just in the last decade, 35,000 hectares of paddy fields have been converted. And remember, that's the land used to grow rice, the staple food for the entire region. That is a huge loss of the ability to grow your own food. So what happens when you stop growing your own food? It's simple, right? You have to buy it from somewhere else. And today, a staggering 70% of the food consumed in Jammu and Kashmir is imported. That creates a massive vulnerability for the whole region's food security. Okay, so how on earth did we get here? Let's dig in. In this next part, we're going to dissect the anatomy of this transformation, really unpack all the interconnected forces that are driving this incredible change. The roots of this really go back decades. It started in the 1950s with land-to-the-tiller reforms, which totally changed who owned the land. But then, fast forward to the 70s, and weak enforcement kind of let this unauthorized urban sprawl start to creep in. Then, after 2019, things really kicked into high gear with a huge push for big infrastructure projects. But the real accelerant, the thing that poured gasoline on the fire, that came in 2022, with new rules that made it way easier to just convert farmland into commercial property. It's really a story of, good intentions, then neglect, and now just full-on aggressive development. And what you have is just a perfect storm of pressures: economic, political, and environmental, all hitting at once. You've got the economic pull, right? High-value orchards like apples just offer way better money than growing rice. Then there's the policy push from those new simplified rules. You add in a strategic push for new highways, new industry, and, oh, by the way, a resource rush for a recently discovered massive lithium deposit. And then looming over everything is climate pressure, which makes traditional farming riskier and riskier every year. You see, all these forces are pushing in the exact same direction: convert the land. Okay, so we've seen the scale of this. We've looked at the causes. Now, let's talk about the consequences. What is the actual real-world price of all this change, both for the people and for the environment? This right here, this chart just lays out that food security risk in the starkest terms possible. Look at that. Only 30% of the region's food is actually grown locally. That huge 70% slice, that's all imported. So think about it. Any disruption to the supply chain, whether it's from bad weather, politics, or just a price spike, it puts the entire region at risk. And the human cost here, it's just immense. You've got farmers who aren't just losing their land, they're losing their entire livelihood, their heritage. Their kids, the young people, are forced to leave their homes for overcrowded cities, often for low-paying, unstable jobs. And when that happens, you lose traditional knowledge, you weaken the very fabric of the community. And here's the kicker. With the population projected to hit 15 million by 2050, all of these pressures are just going to intensify. But there's also a hidden cost, something you can't easily see: the health of the soil itself. So check out this table. It uses something called a soil quality index. Think of a healthy forest as the gold standard, the benchmark, a perfect 1.0. Now watch what happens as the land use changes. Pastures, still pretty good at 0.87. Apple orchards, a little lower. But then, look at the bottom. The paddy fields, the land used for the staple food, is all the way down at 0.53. The most essential land is actually the most degraded. And that degradation, it's directly tied to the loss of carbon in the soil, which is absolutely vital for fertility. Look at this. Compared to that healthy forest, apple orchards have lost 20% of their soil carbon, and the paddy fields, a staggering 34% loss. The land is literally being mined of its life, which just makes it harder and harder to grow anything in the long run. And it's not just the soil. This whole land shift is also creating a massive water crisis. Urban sprawl is swallowing up local water bodies. These huge infrastructure projects are being linked to streams just drying up. And that potential lithium mining, that carries huge risks of contaminating whatever water is left. And the result of all this? Over half of the region's freshwater springs have either shrunk or just disappeared completely. So all of this, it brings us to a fundamental conflict, a real dilemma at the heart of the region's future. It's a story of completely contradictory plans for a very, very fragile ecosystem. It really puts Jammu and Kashmir at a critical crossroads. And this slide just captures that dilemma perfectly. I mean, look at this. On one side, you have the government's development plan. It explicitly says, let's bring agricultural land under residential and commercial use. Okay, but then on the other side, you have the conservation plan, which mandates protecting and managing wetlands. The government is officially, on paper, planning to do two completely opposite things at the exact same time. And that right there, that is the heart of the problem. You've got a system where the goals for development are actively destroying the very ecological foundation the region needs to survive. It's like, imagine you're trying to build a house, but while one hand is putting up walls, the other hand is pulling bricks out from the foundation. It just can't work. And look, this isn't just our opinion or some outside speculation. This is from an official economic survey report. It states it plainly. The unabated conversion of agricultural land is linked to 60% of the population becoming poorer. Let that sink in. The very policies that are supposed to bring prosperity are, by the government's own admission, making the majority of people poorer. Which leaves us with one final critical question. It's really the ultimate challenge facing Jammu and Kashmir today, and there is no easy answer. Can a region truly build its future by paving over its own foundation?